Hello and welcome to another episode of Unboxing Women, where we explore the gender gap in the music and entertainment industry. If you're active in the music business, an independent artist, a musician, or just curious about how it all works, then this is the pod for you. My name is Dana Rex, and with me is my friend Micah Rose, and we are both independent recording artists based in Europe. After having been called a bitch for knowing what we want, we were fed up and decided to be such a bitch and reveal what really goes on behind the scenes. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform and on our YouTube channel. Today, we are chatting with Georgia, who is the founder of Fez and has been helping clients build their social media strategies for the last 5 years. So welcome to the show, Georgia.
Thank you. I am excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit more about what you do on a daily basis.
I essentially have a business where I help people with their social media. Kind of as simple as that, really. So it's anything from creating content, whether that's graphics, video content, writing copy, supporting with ads, coming up with fun ideas, and obviously social media changes literally every day. So it's a constant kind of thing of coming up with new ideas and being relevant, and all the platform changes and things like that. But yeah, we're an end-to-end social media management company, and my background is in entertainment, so we like to kind of stick to that if we can. But we work with different businesses across the board in different industries, as well as music and theatre.
Oh, that's really good. And how did you get into that line of work?
Well, I feel like I'm so old. Many moons ago, many years ago, so I am a musician as well, a singer and a songwriter. And years ago, I was a theatre kid, did the whole theatre kid thing, and went to drama school here in the UK. And then I also worked at record labels and radio stations. And then kind of fast forward after that sort of ongoing period of like creative projects, I kind of thought, how on earth am I going to kind of pay for all of this stuff that I want to keep doing? I don't want to be stuck in dead end jobs. How can I find a way to do something that's at least a little bit creative that helps me make money? So yeah, I'd kind of been doing like digital marketing stuff on the side, like writing blogs and filming content and stuff. So I just thought maybe I can turn this into a business somehow. So that's kind of what I did, and just worked for free and very low rates at the start, just while I got my experience up. And then it just snowballed from there, really. And yeah, I've been doing this probably, I think, about 4 or 5 years now.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah.
So a very varied kind of background with the record companies, radios, etc. Yeah. How was that?
Yeah, definitely. It was interesting. So I started at my local BBC station when I think I was maybe like 20 or something like that. And I would be like making the tea, bringing guests in, answering the phone, and any kind of other random things that they might ask me to do at the time. We used to go out on live broadcasts, and I'd like film the content for them and things. So that was really cool. And they had a lot of cool guests and cool, just different types of people coming in to do interviews. That was really fun. And then I went to work at a record label down in Kent in the UK. And then I actually ended up living there, which was an interesting situation. But again, it was really cool. It was really cool to see and kind of experience firsthand like what it is actually like at a label, and how they work, and how artists come and go, and like the inner workings of a label. But it also wasn't all fun and games. There was a lot of questionable things in terms of money and, like the contract side of stuff, and how people were treated and things like that. And I'm sure, as you guys know, it's an industry that's kind of notorious for those shenanigans.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, but it was great. It was interesting and great are the two words that I would probably choose to describe the experience.
Nice.
Yeah, and now I'm curious to know what happened at the label.
No, it was nothing bad. I mean, particularly, it was just we were we went on contracts for our jobs, and our pay was horrifically low. I had to sell my car. I couldn't ever go home to see my parents. Like, there was myself and another girl, and we had to, like, when we went food shopping, we always went to like the reduced aisle and had to buy like bread that was about to go off. And it sounds dramatic, but we were pretty broke. But we didn't mind because we were young and we were like, well, we get to write songs all day and help with like the running of a label. If I need to have crusty bread for dinner, then it's all good.
So you were a songwriter there.
Yes, so we were songwriters, and we also did like the day-to-day running of the label. Excuse me.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
It's a
know,
weird
booking.
combination. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that they combine, like you're a songwriter, but can you also be our assistant? I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
I think that's the potentially dodgy aspect of the whole thing. Is because if we lived there and could work on all of these projects, we could maybe also do other stuff in the label, which meant they wouldn't have to maybe pay out a salary for someone to do it. And then there was things, like you'd maybe record for a song, but if your writing or your vocals were used, you didn't necessarily know about it. And only years later, I found out that I'm on things and I had no idea, and it's not on my PRS. And
really?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you didn't, do they credit you as a songwriter?
I think there was maybe one thing out of a couple of things that I was credited for. Yeah. And when you're so young as well, you obviously you don't really know how these things work, and you're trying to find out. I don't know what you think with your experience, but I always remember feeling like I read all of these books and I spoke to different people, but nobody could ever really properly explain to me like how things worked in music,
Publishing
like
rights.
Contracts and publishing. Yeah, exactly. All of this stuff felt very secretive, and nobody ever just said, well, this is this, and this is this. It was just kind of like this mystical information that everyone kept to themselves.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever
Keeping it at its
experienced that.
finest.
Oh yeah, I've experienced that, and I've actually went and found out myself. So let's do another session. The two of us, I will explain everything, and then I don't know, maybe we can chase something. I don't know. The thing is, they should have. They actually just paid you. They paid you kind of a salary. Actually, they paid you to be their assistant, and they had you write songs as well. So they should have.
Well, depending on the contract you signed, that can be kind of. Obviously, it could be
depends on the
everything
contract.
you write is theirs to use, and they don't have to credit you.
Yeah.
So.
But actually, they should. They should credit you. So basically, it should have been the other way around. Like actually not being paid, but credit you, so that anytime afterwards, you're credited as a songwriter. You have publishing on it. And stuff like that, and that can grow. Obviously, the more songs that come out with you as a songwriter, the more that grows. But it's in royalties, and it always comes later. So that's not something that you can actually entice somebody with, because you have to, even if something comes out and if it's a hit, you have to wait for 6 or months or even years before you really see something. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Yeah, geez.
So we'll have to dive into that one. Yeah.
So when I say interesting, that is the interesting aspect.
Right.
I see.
So the slightly dodgy aspect.
Exactly. I mean, other people I've mentioned it to were like, you should have gone to a lawyer or something, and I'm like,
you don't know
but I
this.
I was just so young.
Yeah, and also I had to go to university and have a music business course to actually learn about these things, and I still would probably sit there and be like, wait, is this legal? Am I what?
Yeah.
wait, they just said this,
Yeah.
but now they're saying this.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
get it. It's always changing.
Yeah.
It's always different. It depends on who you're talking to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Master
Yeah.
manipulators.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll give you the lowdown, and I'd love to hear your voice in a song. Then, so you did recordings.
Yes, yeah, I've done quite a few bits and pieces, so I shall share some of those with you, some links and stuff.
Can we put them
But
in the
yeah.
show notes?
Yes,
Amazing.
So fun.
yeah, I'll send those over to you. But yeah, I mean, apart from that kind of aspect of stuff, it's been a good ride. Like a really, you just learn so much, and you meet so many cool people. And you know, if you're a creative, being able to do creative projects with different people, and that's kind of your job is really cool. But now I think when you get older, obviously you've got to pay your bills, and it's now nice to be able to do something completely different, but still kind of remain in that industry and work with people like Dana Rex and support people on their journeys as well. So yeah.
Yeah, so in case people don't know, Georgia is my social media manager. Yay!
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
wondering, how do you stay abreast of all the changes of all the platforms and changes in ads, and how do you coordinate that?
That's a really good question. I think we were just saying the other day, weren't we, about how TikTok is now suggesting that people push out long form videos, landscape, and pictures. And yeah, I mean,
Like
It's
Instagram
So strange, like
and YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. TikTok is
Yes.
becoming Instagram and YouTube. Why?
yeah, they're all just like constantly competing, aren't they? And yeah, it is like a constantly every day there's something new. But there's so many really good websites and resources that you can go on who will just literally, that's what they do. They'll have maybe a blog or like a video series, and they'll always be updating. There's, I think, one's called Later, which is really good. Social Media Today is really good as well. Gosh, there's so many. I've got like an inbox full of different newsletters from different like social media people who'll send out a regular weekly newsletter with all of the updates. So that's really helpful as well. There's one that I've subscribed to called The Geek Out by a guy called Matt Navarra, and he's really great. He's like a social media consultant in the UK. And I think he's done work with all sorts of massive companies like the BBC and I think maybe the government as well, he's done stuff with, but his newsletter is really good. So if anybody is interested in finding out more about social media and keeping up with trends, that's a really good one to
Nice.
follow. But yeah, there's so many resources, which is really helpful. Overwhelming, but helpful.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm also like subscribed to a gazillion newsletters, and then you don't really read them. Like, okay, this one I can let go now.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I actually
Yeah, it's kind of-
used Later for a while for
Oh, yeah?
scheduling posts. Yeah, it was good. Obviously, I used the free version. There's more options in the
Oh,
paid
so it's not
version.
only like a blog. It also has like the scheduler
Yeah,
tool.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, so
okay.
you can schedule things.
Yeah.
Right, Later. Yeah. That passed by at one moment. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Like you say, there's been so many. There's been like Hootsuite also for at the beginning to schedule, and then
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
and now you can just schedule on Facebook apparently. So
True.
Yeah.
Yep, you can. Yeah. I think what I always try to look for in these kind of softwares is like the reporting aspect and how they help you kind of understand all of the data. You can definitely get all the social media data in the apps that you use. But if you're not like a social media person or very kind of data minded, if you see it, you might be like, oh my gosh, what the hell does all of this mean? Like, what's reach? What's this? What are impressions? So those different softwares are usually really good at like breaking down things like that really simply and giving you a nice report to let you know how your social efforts have been doing.
Yeah, it's really nice actually when when I'm working with Georgia, we go over like on this month we go over next month, and then we have a look at, what is going on. We also have a look at the results from what we tried last time,
Yeah.
and what we will continue, what we
Yeah.
won't do. So yeah, that's really a fun process as well, to find out actually what's going on, because I used to do it alone, and then you're looking at these things, but you're looking at individual posts mostly. You're looking at what was my reach and what happened with this post. But you're not really going into a software where you can compare and start, So that's really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for anyone, if you're on social media and you're doing, I think sometimes people think, oh my gosh, I'm doing all of this stuff and I'm putting all of this content out and nothing's happening, or it's not happening very quick. It's just so helpful to have that data and to be able to kind of understand what it's telling you and then adjust what you're doing. But there's so many like gurus and social media experts, and nobody is really an expert, because I think unless you actually work at Instagram and you are like making the algorithm, you can't. Nobody really knows. You've just got to keep trying and keep testing stuff, and what works for one artist on their social media might not work for another type of artist. So yeah, I think it's just about trying and testing and seeing what works for you.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because you are an entrepreneur, you're self-employed. Was there ever a time when people have undermined you or called you a bitch, for example, just because you're a boss at what you do?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, I probably have been called a bitch behind my back, most probably. I don't ever recall being called that or something along those lines to my face. I've definitely encountered horrible people that are very awkward to work with, people that don't want to pay you, people that just decide they don't like you and are gonna be rude to you and make it difficult to work together. Definitely encountered a lot of that. Yeah, I'm
Are
sure
these
I've probably
people
been
men?
called.
Are they men? Were they men?
I think some of them definitely were. Some of them were actually women, to be fair, which is interesting. But yeah, it's been a mix, I would say, over the years. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been called something to my face, which I would prefer people to do, to be honest. Like, if you have an issue or you don't like something, or I've done something that you don't like or whatever, maybe the world would just be like easier to navigate if people
would be honest.
Yeah. Hot take on this. So you are based in the UK, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So my experience with living in the UK was that, as a German who is very frank and honest about things, is that I can understand when Germans are beating around the bush, but I cannot understand when UK, like English, specifically English people are beating around the bush, being polite. Right? It's called being polite, when a lot of the times it's actually just you're being nasty, but you're hiding it. So, like, can you, as a British person, understand that better? As in, like, do you know it when they do that? Because I found a lot of the times I wasn't picking up on it at all.
Totally. I definitely understand what you're saying. I think we in England have a very weird thing where we don't want to offend people, but also, particularly in business, I've found, and working with different types of people who run different types of businesses here, there's a thing in the UK that we have, which is where we are quite, the word I'd probably use is quite underneath. People aren't very honest, in my experience, and people will try and get something for cheaper, or try and kind of like undermine or be a bit sly. And I think there's a bit of a thing in the UK, like a lot of people are a little bit like that, whether it's in a business setting or kind of just like a personality setting. Obviously, not everybody is like that, but I think British people have, a weird thing where we don't want to be kind of like outright rude, but we will kind of be rude, but underneath the surface level, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. It does kind of align with what my experience was, and I was just wondering because obviously I'm German. I was born in the UK, but I was raised in Germany with German parents, and so my character is quite well. The way I act, the way I present is very German.
Yeah.
So it's just I
To the
had
point.
that experience.
It's very to the
Yes. In your job now as a social media manager, what's your favorite part?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know that anyone's ever asked that before. I think the best part is being able to be creative and being able to, I mean, within reason, there's not really any boundaries. And I think the more creative you can be with ideas, the better. I mean, I've seen all sorts of things, brands, big brands as well, doing things that kind of sometimes might make you go, oh, not sure about that. But it's,
Yeah.
I think you have that freedom to come up with ideas. So that's great because I've worked jobs in the past where there is not an ounce of creativity in the room and it's very depressing. So to be able to
Yeah.
kind of be creative frequently is really cool. And to work with great people as well. You meet different people doing different things, and you would probably not be meeting them if you weren't working in, social media or marketing and some kind of creative business. So yeah, I think those two things would be my faves.
Nice.
And you worked a lot with musical theatre clients as well, big ones. So tell us a bit more about how that went.
Yeah, that was great. I love musicals. I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I think a couple of years ago now, maybe 2, 3 years ago, I worked at an agency when I was living in London, and they were an arts marketing agency, and they had a lot of different clients in the West End, different West End shows in the UK, and then also different touring productions. So I worked across the touring department on some of the different musicals, and some of those were Dreamgirls, there was Chicago, Waitress,
Big.
and Bat Out of Hell, which is Meatloaf's
Oh yeah, right.
musical. So yeah, it was really cool. Totally different shows, totally different stories. And yeah, it was just, if you like musicals, it's kind of a really, really cool job
Yeah, I
to
can
be
imagine.
doing.
I
So
really like musicals.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, oh, that's good.
We're like three of
We
us,
can
like
Yeah.
guess
beating the
more.
odds.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, not everyone. I have friends who are like, I absolutely hate musicals. Everyone is just singing all of the time. They're like, make it make sense. And I'm like, that's the point.
You know what it is? I think it's because we're singers that we like
Maybe.
musicals.
I
Because
mean-
then you could sing.
Actually, the controversy is in some of my friends are actors or actresses, and they don't like musicals that much because
They don't sing.
No, some of them sing.
Oh.
But in Germany specifically, we've had an episode about this, about the German musical scene and how it's like monopolized by one industry, one company.
Yeah.
And they just think it's cheap and like not well done, and because they keep casting from the same casting pool and not like getting new people in and casting people for looks instead of talent. So I completely get that, but I still love to go.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And they were like, people, they must realize this is not what people want. And I'm like, but like, yeah, I want good shows, but I also still will go.
But do they
So-
still like to watch the movies or go to a musical elsewhere than in Germany? That's the question.
They like movies, but not necessarily movies of musicals. I didn't
Yeah.
ask. It didn't come
Yeah.
up. They're more theatre goers.
Ah, yes,
So,
theatre.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah. I have some friends who are also actors, and who are exactly the same. They detest musicals, but they'll go and watch a play,
Yeah.
no problem. So yeah, I guess
funny.
it's just
That's funny. I'd
Personal
much rather
preference.
do a musical. Yeah, if I have to watch
Maybe
like a
there's
theatre thing.
rivalry.
Yeah, just have a song in it. It makes it so much better.
Yeah, put a song in it. Yeah,
Says the singer.
I agree.
Where can people find you? How can they reach you?
Yes, so I am on Instagram at Fez Social. That is also my website, redfezsocial.com. There is a little bit more about me on there. I can be contacted through Instagram DM or email. I'm also on LinkedIn. So yeah, if anyone wants to reach out, that's where you can find me.
Cool. We will put that in the show notes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on that note, that's all for today. Thank you for tuning into Unboxing Women. If you've ever had an experience that you want to share with us, send us a DM or tag us in your post with the hashtag suchabitch. Or send us an email on suchabitch@unboxingwomen.com. Don't forget to drop us a like on Instagram or wherever you're listening to us. Today's guest has been Georgia. Thank you for coming on the show. It was really great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My name is Micah Rose and I've been chatting with Dana and Georgia. Tune in to another episode of Unboxing Women soon. See you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.